I am just the son of a hero and the grandson of a god. Just after being born, he was taken away, kidnapped from his village named Konoha, and since then he was raised by a god once tamed the QB, just with his eyes alone. Nothing more, nothing less. His talent was peerless, and they were seemingly unrivaled. He was expected to continue his grandfather's legacy and to complete his master plan, but he was wrong. The boy was not someone who could be tossed around like a pawn in a grand chess of match, nothing less. He had one goal, and one goal alone. This was such a near impossible feat to attain. But there was only one person that stood right in his path, blocking his path to unify the world through his wits, Madara Uchiha. And this is the story of Naruto Uzumaki Uchiha Namikaze, the boy who graced the earth. The ship for this one is gonna be Naruto X female Sasuke. So yeah, again, this is also a fanfic. As I said, there are two fanfics. The one is the previous one in which the story name is slashed, in which Naruto goes rogue, which of course I've been continuing. And part two is just gonna be coming like 1 hour or two later after I upload this video, and then the second fanfic that this guy did, it's named as Grace, and this one is even better than the first one, and that's saying something because the first one was really good, but this one is even better, and yeah, hopefully you guys will like it, and yeah, let's begin the video. Grace, Chapter 1, Prologue. Shit, we're going to die, Kushina said in pain as blood rushed out of her mouth. They were right in front of their crying boy that they loved so dearly. Wait to state the obvious, Minato says as he could feel every single organ and limb increase in pain as they slowly died out. The QB's sharp claws had impaled the both of them just a few minutes before. The married couple looked at their son in pained expression on their faces. I guess we should say our last words, huh? Minato asked as tears dropped down his eyes. Kushina nodded in a teary manner and looked at the baby in front of them. Naruto, we are your parents. I'm sorry not being able to be there when you grow up, Kushina said as a pained and sorrowful chuckle at the end. But make friends. They don't have to be many, just enough and trustworthy ones. Kushina reached out to caress Naruto's face as he felt her life slowly slip away. Eat healthy. Don't be addicted to ramen like me. Eat healthy, lots of vegetables, the things that will make you grow. Tears streamed down her face. When you get a girlfriend, make sure she's like me. Kushina felt her body dying. Minato looked at Naruto with the same teary eyes as Kushina. I'm too sorry, Naruto, for not being there with you while you grew up, Minato said as he held his gaze towards Naruto. Streams of blood gushed out of their mouth. I never expected to be dying like this. I never did, Minato said in a painful expression. Your mother, she took what I wanted to say. Stay healthy, don't drink too much, or at least drink a little bit when you get enough old, and don't associate yourself with Jiraiya Sensei too much. But he's a good person, Kakashi. Yeah, you can trust him. He too is a good one. Minato coughed out blood right after. We love you, Naruto. Whatever path you take, we'll forever support it, no matter what. Minato told the crying Naruto as they slowly lost their grip on the strings of life. Their bodies lowered onto the ground as they laid there, absolutely lifeless. As the two laid on the ground, their eyes closed, and in the mouth in a thin smile. There was a person in the distance, standing on a tree. His long, ragged, jet black hair flowed in the night sky. His shotgun gun glowed brightly as he stood in the shadows. He looked around the place. He had sensed nostalgia looking at it. It's been a while since I was last here. Such a pity I can't destroy it. The mysterious Uchiha thought as it disappeared and reappeared right in front of the crying Naruto. It seems to me that you have inherited the blood of an Uchiha. That has been dormant within my son's blood. The streaking black headlights speak for themselves. He absorbed Naruto. The trigram seal. It was a masterpiece. My son is quite a Funjutsu specialist, is he not? If only his Uchiha blood revealed itself to him. The man said as he slowly started to hear noises from everlasting woods. I'll be taking you, he says as he warped the blanket onto Naruto's body and disappeared from the shadows of Konoha. You shall grace this earth with your presence, because I, Uchiha Madara, will train you in the ways of the god. The man that was now revealed to be Uchiha Madara thought, do you know the purpose of that thing called life? A boy with blonde hair and black streaks thought as he squatted down. He had his gaze focused on the dying animal as he was only 5 years old. Ironically, the animal was a fox, 'cause I, Uchiha Naruto, don't. I long for that thing that I thirst for, knowledge. But life is such a topic that I can't ignore it and overcome. I want to know, I need to know, Naruto thought as he looked at the dying fox in front of him. Blood, blood. It was seeping out of its wound. Do you have a family? If so, they would hate the entity that attacked you. Naruto asked with such a dull and lifeless eyes. Humans, animals, we are all alike, and we may be not like each other's in terms of appearance, but we are alike in terms of behavior. Do you know what that means? There are many definitions of it. Each definition for it can work and apply to us. He told the fox as he pulled out the bandages. And since we are alike, I'll help you. This may not help you much, but you'll at least last a bit longer. Naruto said as he wrapped the bandages around the bloodied fox. It might just be a little longer, but that's what separates you and you later. You may die any minute now or two later, but that's better than dying right now. You know why? Because life is a gift. Remember those words, Naruto said as he petted the fox in front of him. Now, go. As Naruto told the fox quickly limped away from the boy. As the fox limped away, Naruto saw the bushes rustle. He gained a look of disdain as he followed the fox. Then a wolf jumped out of the bushes and aimed itself towards the fox. Before it could even land a dealing or finishing blow, Naruto threw a kunai. In a flash, there it had pierced its flesh. The said wolf had blood rush out and landed on the ground and fell over. Naruto walked over and towards the wolf and squatted down, like what he did with the fox. See, now you know how the fox feels when it gets targeted, Naruto said with a distasteful tone. He kept his sharp gaze locked onto the wolf in front of him. It whimpered in pain. The wolf tried to get it. The wolf tried to get up and run away, but he couldn't move. Naruto's sharp eyes became dull once more. Do you cherish and love your own family? Is that why you're trying to save yourself? Or do you love something else? Family, perhaps? You do have a pack, right? Naruto asked the wolf. You know, one time before this day had come, my grandfather took me to a place where that reeked with blood and corpse. There was a battle, no, a massacre of people that had died. That was the day when I learned of the cycle of hatred. My grandfather spoke of it often, but never truly told me of its meaning. Naruto explained as he took out a kunai. The wolf was already dead. Naruto had hit a vital organ, but he kept on talking. But when I finally learned about it myself, that accursed day, I created a goal for myself. a way for me to test my own resolve, my absolute limits and capacity. Naruto told a dead wolf as he stood back up to create eternal peace, but to do so, I need to conquer the five great nations, said Naruto. Naruto quickly got up from his squatted position and looked at the sky. And for me to conquer the great elemental nations, I'll have to get strong. Stronger than the five Kage and even stronger than my grandfather. Naruto thought as wind blew his hair as his dull eyes looked at the horizon. I'll kill him. Not just for you, father, mother. Naruto told the sky as he looked down and saw the dead wolf slowly gaining flies. Naruto ignores this as he heard a voice. Naruto! He heard a feminine voice yell out in the woods. Naruto turned back at the look at the direction and saw a silhouette of a slender figure. Coming, Naruto responded in a monotone voice. He entered the woods as flies swarmed around the dead wolf's corpse. Naruto slowly disappeared into the shadows of the forest. He pulled out a book as he walked towards the voice. The voice got louder and louder as Naruto got closer. He smelled the nature that surrounded him. Naruto found a woman with a bright blonde hair that similarly matched his very own. They were in a small clearing. Hello, grandmother. Naruto greeted in a respectful tone. He bowed slightly before continuing to advance towards her. She smiled a warm smile as she looked at Naruto. Can you help me with the laundry? Also, your grandfather wants to see you. He wants to start your training again for today. She told him as Naruto nodded and walked even further into the woods. The grandmother looked at Naruto's retreating back with a small smile on her face. Naruto soon saw a house that was big enough for three people to fit. It wasn't anything special, just a small traditional house that you could find in any elemental nations. But they're rare and they were in a secluded area. A very secluded area indeed. They were inside a territory of the Fire Country, but their location was so good that even Jiraiya's spy network would have a slim chance of finding them. Naruto opened the Soji door and saw his grandfather in flesh, Madara Uchiha. Took you some time to get here, Madara said in a very calm manner. He gestured Naruto to sit right in front of him. Naruto obliged. Naruto walked towards the middle of the room and sat down in front of his grandfather's by putting his hands on his thighs. Yukari may have already told you why I have told you to come here today. Madara told him as Naruto nodded his head. Seemingly satisfied, Madara nodded. Good. Now I want you to continue your training with the scroll. He gave Naruto a relatively small scroll. Anything else, grandfather? Naruto asked in an unwavering. Madara gained a amused smile on his face. We'll be having your favorite ramen tonight for dinner. He addressed to Naruto. Naruto nodded, slowly standing up and made his way towards the Soji door. Naruto slid it open and walked in the sunlight once more. The sun shined brightly on his delicate face. Come back before the sunset, Madara said as he sat still. His hair was completely white from top to bottom. He saw Naruto nod and slightly indicating that he understood. Naruto passed Yukari as he brought in the rest of the laundry. She entered the room that Madara was in. How well is he improving? Asked Yukari as he placed down the rest of the laundry onto the room. He's doing quite well. He has only started doing this task for about a month or two now, answered Madara, as he was satisfied with Naruto's current growth. Does Obito and Zetsu know about his existence? Hikari asked, as no Madara shook his head to that answer. For the last 5 years, I managed to keep Naruto's existence a secret. Naruto knows about them, while the opposing do not. Madara explained to Yukari. She nodded at that answer. I can only keep this under for just a little if over a year or so left. Madara told her so suddenly. I have siphoned just enough chakra from the Getter statue to keep me going. Madara continued as the words came out of his mouth, and Naruto had just turned 5. Ah, that's unfortunate. Yukari pondered with the Madara nodding slightly after that. He coughed out just to look at her. That's indeed unfortunate, but this will serve as Naruto's growth. He said in a sagely tone, because Obito and Zetsu are just pawns. Naruto is the king and that shall move all the pieces that are on the board to do his bidding. A small smile traced his face. Naruto will be the one that completes the infinite Tsukuyomi. Thump, thump. Naruto twisted around in the air as he had already thrown over four kunai towards targets that were around them. Naruto gracefully landed on the ground and absorbed around him. One at the right dot, and the rest were off by an inch or two. Naruto thought as he walked towards the east consecutive kunai and pulled them out. He saw the markings that the kunai had made. Now you are just as imperfect as the humans and animals. Naruto thought as he eyed the target board. His eyes watched over each of the target board before he stopped intensely and gazing at the board intensely. Naruto had a few more hours until he was expected to come back to the house for dinner. I have to keep on going. Naruto walked towards the scroll that had some information on how or what he should try to work for the day. Some may say that this was a dream come true, but for Naruto, this was insufficient. This may be polishing my abilities, but the amount of improvement that I have gained to this bare minimum, it's not enough. Naruto thought as he kept on absorbing a task in the scroll, but for now, this will do. Naruto mused as he looked at the next task that was needed. No, expected for him to do. Naruto walked away from the dented target boards and disappeared into the depths of the forest. He soon appeared on the edge of the cliff, and that was outside of the forest that surrounds their house. Naruto looked down towards the ground and saw the scroll once more. Grandfather wants me to improve my flexibility. I'll work on it. Naruto thought as he saw the branches sticking out of the sides of the cliff that were able to certainly hold his weight. I'm barely 40 pounds. I'm not that heavy in human standards. Naruto mused as he readied himself to jump from one cliff to another. He jumped back and enough to where he would be able to gain some boost of speed. I haven't done this one in quite some time. I wonder how truly rusty I am. Naruto asked himself as he rose towards the edge of the cliff. His breathing quickened. Naruto could possibly die if he would make one more mistake here. He bent his knees just slightly and pushed himself upwards. Naruto was now off the ground, and just a few moments later, he was now absolutely nothing. This I'll be my this I'll test my resolve. Maybe I can learn something about life. Naruto mused in his mind as it began to falling downwards towards the stone ground. I will certainly die if I hit it. If I was at least 20 meters away, I may or may not be able to survive it. Naruto felt the air around him brush against the skin as he was free falling from the sky down. He looked at the sky and saw the nearest tree branch sticking out. Naruto outstretched his hand towards it and intended to grab it. His body was quickly being gravitated towards it. There, Naruto thought as his hands were finally able to grab the branch with a very firm grip. Naruto's body swung around the wooden branch with hardly any effort. His feet landed on top of the wooden branch. His body soon followed. Naruto quickly, slowly but surely rose up, and stood on top of that branch. Seemingly, it was quite sturdy. 59 minutes to go until I'll keep myself entertained with these. And Naruto dived down towards the next wooden branch. He also attached his hands onto his swing and swung around. Naruto put on the soles of his feet and the bottom of the branch. He was now underside of the branch with his arms being on the top side of the branch for support. Grandfather sometimes says that I've graced the earth with my presence online. Does that mean I have to act graceful, or am I always graceful no matter what I do? Naruto kept on asking these multiple questions while he was handing off the true wooden branch. His entire body was upside down. Naruto didn't have enough time to think before he launched himself onto the wooden branch. A small smirk appeared on Naruto's face as he closed his eyes. At 56 more minutes, Naruto opened his eyes slowly. That's quite doable. A smirk that never reached his eyes, and Naruto kept on attaching and reattaching himself from tree to tree that came across. Naruto kept on repeating this process until he reached the very bottom of the step and the large cliff. He wiped the slight sweat and that was rolling down from his forehead. Naruto looked up at the cliff. Guess I'll just have to jump from the top, Naruto thought as he jumped on the first wooden branch. This was more certainly much more easier for Naruto than jumping down one of the tree to another. He soon finally reached to the very top of the cliff. Naruto stretched his limbs out. He still had a lot more time until the session was completely over. 40 minutes left until I have to move on to the next one. Naruto had his eyes unlocked on the forest. He pondered for a slight moment if he should continue with the same exercise or if he should move on to the next one. Naruto had ultimately decided to keep on doing the same exercise. He was not a kid who showed much emotion, but he loved the adrenaline rush that he gets from falling down from the air. It was a good feeling. Odd, but feels good overall. Naruto jumped down once again. He did this many times over and over until 60 minutes were finally down for the count. Naruto looked directly to the south. That's the direction of Konoha. Naruto thought as he walked towards the scroll that faced flat on the ground that he stood on. He picked it up and looked inside. Naruto had an hour or two until dinner that was being served. His eyes scanned the rest of the contents inside of the scroll that was being gripped tightly by the blonde. Next task is to pick up what corpse? Naruto questioned as he looked at those words. He shook his head, knowing that this wasn't a real task. Yukari must have added this onto the scroll. Nevertheless, Naruto did what the scroll asked for him. He ran throughout the forest and soon came out with a little bit of form that Yukari and Madara had created. Naruto looked at the scroll once again and scanned from the contents once more. He was trying to figure out what kind of crops that he was tasked to take. Yukari will be replanting them tomorrow morning. Carrots, tomatoes, the usual. Naruto walked towards the side that had carrots, tomatoes. He quickly punched them and did whatever he needed to do. Naruto had sighed. He did not have any place that the carrots and tomatoes in. Naruto was smart, but there was times where his smarts did not shine at all. Common sense, Naruto, he told himself as he balanced out the carrots and tomatoes and the scroll. Naruto made sure not to spill any of the potential food that were on his arms. He finally made it back to the house. Naruto slid the shoji door and entered one of the multiple rooms. Oh, you're back early. Place the crops onto the kitchen counter and wash up. Hikari called out. Naruto nodded and silently got his clothes prepared. Naruto walked towards the bathroom and with that set clothing, he stripped off the clothes that he was currently wearing and entered the shower. Naruto felt the water land on his skin. It felt nice to freshen up after a few hours of training. Once Naruto was done, he wore clothes that he had prepared for himself. Naruto dried up his wet hair and soon entered the only room that had an actual table on it. He saw Madara waiting for him to sit down. Shall we play a game of chess? He gestured towards the board. Naruto raised an eyebrow before nodding and sitting down in front of him. I'll take the white, since I'm the first in everything, said Madara as he took the white pieces. Naruto nodded. I thought we were going to play shogi, not chess. Naruto was confused. He took the black pieces. You won 4 of the 5 times you played shogi, but the only reason that I won was due to your lack of experience. Now I'm testing how quickly you'll be able to learn chess, explained Madara as he looked at the board. Naruto nodded as he put his subconsciously, but he put the left leg on the right, and the near tips of his fingers were barely touching his skin. Alright, I accept your challenge. This is probably gonna be the one only things that I'm actually better than you at. I'll gain satisfaction from this. Naruto responded as he got ready. Don't get so arrogant. Naruto slowly smirked at that. They slowly but surely got into the rhythm of playing. Naruto analyzed each move that Madara had made without a single beat. Why do you think the king is so important? Madara asked as he looked at Naruto, as for expected an answer. Naruto thought about it for a second or two. A king is a person that controls all. They are responsible for every decision, whether it's good or bad. They are so important because of this. Naruto responded as he moved another piece gracefully and made his move. The same can be applied to the Kages. They are king, but the daimyo is the emperor that rules over them. Such acts like killing the daimyo is considered an act of treason. Naruto continued as he saw Madara smirk. Correct. He is the man that controls all. Why do you think the queen is so important? Madara asked a follow up a question as he moved his piece. Naruto pondered for a moment or two. A person that counteracts the king. The queen, the question is quite tough for me. She is a person that has the same amount of authority that the king holds. Maybe even more, Naruto answered with confusion. Naruto moved another piece. Madara held a smirk. And that what separates you from me. Experience. Madara told Naruto as he made his final move. He was smirking, and that was never ending. Naruto looked down at the board. Checkmate. Madara declared. Naruto observed the king on his board. The king had been captured and backed to the corner. Naruto had lost the match. Chapter 3. Madara had once taken Naruto out of the confinement that he had called home when he was just 4 years old. They weren't out of place for any normal reasons. The family was never normal at all. He had taken Naruto to a battlefield. Once one that was filled with blood and bodies of dead. It was quite a perfect timing when they finally managed to get there. It seems no one is here, said Madara, as his tone was unwavering. It showed no weakness at all. He looked down at Naruto. Whom was this looking at the bodies? Any regular person with no experience as a shinobi would think Naruto was just an emotionless kid, but that's not true. To some extent, that is. Madara saw his face. There was some conflict in his mind due to the sight of the dead bodies on the ground. Naruto, do you know about the cycle of hatred? Asked Madara as Naruto's head snapped towards the elderly Madara. You talk about it, but I don't know what it exactly means, Naruto answered, his head and his eyes snapping back towards the dead bodies. Once more, Madara nodded, also looking back at the dead and rotting corpse on the ground. In the most simplest of form, it means negativity attracts negativity, while positivity attracts positivity. Madara explained, putting his hand on top of Naruto's shoulder. What does that negativity have to hand positivity parts mean, grandfather? Naruto asked, seemingly confused on what Madara was trying to explain. Madara sighed. Alright, if a person were to take life of another person, that said person had a family and that he cared for, what would be the family feel towards the person that had killed their grandfather, mother, husband, child? Asked Madara as Naruto pondered for a moment before answering. hate, said Naruto, answering the question that was directed towards him. Madara nodded, seeing how Naruto was quickly catching up to what he was trying to explain to the boy. And this will have them in such a much greater, much more negative state than in any positive one. This causes a problem. The family will be much more prone to being angry and negative towards to the point where they too will spread negativity. Naruto slightly widened his eyes. He fully understood. If a family dies, something in any way too negative to another person, they too will possibly be put in a negative behavior and will also be prone to more negative thoughts and feelings. It's an infinite cycle that grows from one person to another. The last part was more a question than a statement. Correct. See the bodies on the ground. They too had loved ones, and they too will suffer like many other. This is the cycle of hatred. Now, hate. Naruto thought, repeating the same word over and over with no signs of stopping. He jumped in the air and threw a kunai at one of the that detonated on the target boards. It landed inches away from the hitting the bullseye. Naruto sighed as he walked towards the target boards, intending to pull out the kunai out of place. It had been a few week or two since he had played chess with Madara, but Naruto couldn't warp his head around something. How am I always naturally talented at doing the things I do? Naruto thought, clenching his fist tightly, as he stared at the kunai engraved near the bullseye. He had only started a few or half a year before now, and he was progressing at a phenomenal rate. He didn't like the idea of him being fed by a golden spoon. Too much talent will only eat me up. I need a solution. Naruto thought, unclenching his fist and grabbing a hold of the kunai that was on the target boards. Naruto wants to work for the strength. Do I hold back? No, that's not it. If I were to hold back, grandfather won't be pleased. And I'm not very good at faking or making it seem like I look authentic. Naruto thought with the kunai in his hand. His mind was in an absolute storm. Naruto gave a deep sigh, letting go of his thoughts for now, and turned around. He moved to another topic in his mind and walked away from the target boards. Maybe it is in 6 months or so. I still can't fathom on how it's already May, almost June. Naruto had forgotten his task the day after his fifth birthday. It was quite a fun day. I shouldn't rush my training. I have plenty of time to improve. Naruto was about to enter the vast forest, but a pair of kunai was thrown directly towards him. Naruto reacted to this with a jump to the air. Another pair of kunai was shot right towards him. Shit, Naruto thought, using his own pair of kunai to deflect the opposing that was thrown straight at him. While in midair, Naruto snatched the kunai and the opponents had thrown at him. He landed on the ground. Damn it, Toshi, we only had one chance. We need to get his gear to survive. Naruto looked at the side and saw two people hissing at each other. He slightly narrowed his eyes at them. Shut it, Kyo. We can take care of the kid. It's 2-on-1. Toshi hissed back, slightly glaring at Kyo. Naruto absorbed them slightly. They didn't have the best teamwork and communication. Naruto looked at the four-headed protector. They were a rogue ninja from Kiri. Naruto slightly tensed up. He knew his limits. Naruto is barely a genin. He also had taken into account on how strong these two could possibly be. Who are you? Naruto asked Naruto, readying himself with his kunai at hand. Toshi and Kyo snapped their head towards Naruto. We are rogue genin from Kirigakure. The sounds are brothers. Naruto was internally relieved that they were just genins. Real Genin, don't you think that's quite dangerous? The last part was no question. They glared at him. We could do the same thing for you, Kyo remarked, getting into an unfamiliar stance. Naruto got into his own stance and readied himself for combat. He was honestly quite nervous to even fight these Genins. His eyes were focused right on them. We'll end it in a split second. The two rushed towards him with quick speed. He gritted in annoyance, dodging one of their punch after another. They're not giving me any room to get a punch in. Naruto thought. A bed of sweat rolled on his forehead. What's wrong? Can't keep up? Kyo asked arrogantly. Naruto said nothing, seeing as he couldn't capitalize on an opening. Naruto backed away, analyzing the situation. His eyes darted from one limb to another on their body. What's the best way to demobilize them? To break their bones? He needed one good opening to turn the tides on his favor. But it's not happening anytime soon. So Naruto used a better option. That was, well, simply run. Naruto turned around and jumped from tree to tree above, running away. Such a coward. The two followed suit, and never losing track of Naruto along the way. They're stronger than me, so I'll have to use my wit in this problem. Naruto thought, looking back at the two brothers that were currently tailing him behind. He was, well, restricted. I have yet to learn the water climbing and wall climbing technique. I have too much chakra to learn it quick enough. Naruto thought as his gaze was fixed on the brothers and looking towards his right. There was a tree. Without much thinking, Naruto outstretched his hand towards the tree and gave it a tight grip. He felt an intense burn from the friction being created between his hands and the tree itself. Ignoring the burn, he managed to swing his body and turn around of the tree trunk. The momentum carried his body, and he was honing towards Toshi. Dodge! He yelled Kyo out, and Toshi used his forearms to block, but it was a bad idea. Ah! He gritted his teeth in pain. Naruto managed to use his advantage in physical strength to damage Kyo's forearm. Toshi landed on a tree, holding his arm to ease the pain. You'll pay for hurting my brother. Kyo jumped towards him. Naruto slightly widened his eyes as he was still in midair. He had to tank the punch off. Naruto felt the force of the punch hit his face. Naruto was now entering a free fall. He looked to the side and saw another tree next to him while he was falling down from the high height. I'll have to take a gamble, Naruto thought. He placed both of his hands on the tree firmly. The same with his feet. Naruto was planning to slow himself down by using the tree bark. The burning from now transformed into an absolute pain. The skin from his hands were now getting cut off by the bark. Naruto saw the slithers of blood drip down his hand. He felt the wind rush from his side. He was tackled right off the tree onto the ground below. You little shit, killed out Kyo, throwing a punch towards Naruto's face. He managed to dodge 4 in a row. Stay still, yelled Kyo in rage and about to throw one last punch. Your yelling annoys me, said Naruto, bringing up his hand up and covering Kyo's eyes with the blood that covered his hand. He was now distracted with getting blood off his face. Naruto capitalized on this, clenching his other bloodied hand into a fist and punching Kyo in the face. Kyo was now pushed back, a meter or so away. Naruto got up immediately and looked around the area. Then what's with that guy Toshi? Naruto asked. Naruto jumped back to create a distance between him and Kyo. He heard a few noises towards his back and jumped in the air. Naruto looked down at the ground and saw Toshi had tried preparing for a surprise attack on him. If they get one good hit off on me, I'm dead. Naruto mused, landing on the tree beside. There, the two brothers got up from their position with an angered expression on their faces. How this kid is so good at such a young age. There was a hint of jealousy laced on their voices. Tch, it doesn't matter, Tosi. Kyo was jealous of Naruto's strength at such a young age. They were immediately reminded of a person. Do you think he's that Uchiha prodigy that Konoha holds? Toshi asked Kyo. He looked and shook his head. I doubt it. The guy is much younger than him. Though the guy's much younger than him. The other one should be around 11 or 12 years old right now, I think. Kyo responded to Toshi's question, but there was no time to waste. Let's finish him, said Toshi as the two started to run towards Naruto. He breathed in and out. He saw them quickly and approached him. His hands were still stung from blood. He saw the blood slowly evaporate alongside with his cut. QB. Naruto was distracted by, and the two brothers took advantage of with the puns to Naruto's faces. Naruto's face ground up for the two impact on his face. Naruto was launched away from Toshi and Kyo. Before he could land another punch off, Naruto regained his balance and dodged two punches. A bit of sweat rolled down his forehead and dropped to the ground. I need to run and formulate a plan, Naruto thought, turning around and jumping away from them. The two brothers trailed Naruto with no intention of losing track of him. Naruto soon saw a clearing out of the forest. Shit. Naruto cursed in his mind. Seeing the clearing was just the same cliff that he would normally use to train. He looked back at Toshi and Kyo were cornering him. Looks like you're cornered. Kyo smirked in satisfaction. They finally had him in their hands, ready to be killed. Ryuge was such a tough one. If we were able to have a month or two later, you would have probably been able to take us down. You're talented, and the talent pisses me off. Toshi and Kyo advanced forward. Naruto relaxed and stopped his standing in a stance. He thought that he had given up. Good. Now you have accepted your fate. Their footstep became louder. Naruto started to pull something out of his holster. A chess piece. They narrowed their eyes at him. Naruto's dull and emotionless eyes looked at them. Do you know what the specific chess piece is? It's the king. Naruto held it for display. And do you know what a king does? Asked Naruto, his eyes casted upon them. They didn't answer. I'll answer for you, Naruto said, his eyes holding the king. They manipulate, deceive, and lie. They and the queen are second to the emperor. Naruto questioned them as he put his chest back into the holster. You two are just pawns, while I am the king that controls your every move. They were aggravated at such a claim. They charged towards him. Bullshit! They yelled in unison. Naruto smirked. He liked this feeling. The feeling of being on top of the world. The person who manipulates people from forth and their action. This is his true nature. He was sly and cunning, like a fox. Naruto suddenly noticed that he was able to see Toshi and Kyo's exact movements. His perception of the world had changed. He had, one, Tomoe, and two of his eyes. Did it activate due to the feeling that I had? Naruto asked himself as he found himself charging towards the two brothers, with one kunai being held tightly in his hand. Naruto was now able to predict their movements with much ease. Sharingan? He's an Uchiha? Choshi couldn't say much more as he quickly felt his body fall to the ground. Naruto standing on top of Toshi's back as his scarlet red eyes reflected upon the moonlight. I won't hesitate to kill you. While I'm strongly against killing a person, if it benefits me in the end, I'll do it. Naruto told him, stepping off Toshi, who was now feeling absolute agony. Stay back, you monster! Kyo yelled out. He was now being beaten by a 5-year-old. Naruto did not falter one bit. Kyo gritted his teeth. He charged towards Naruto. Die! Kyo yelled, aiming his kunai at the unfazed Naruto. In a split second, Naruto kicked away the kunai from Kyo and to the ground, and smashed his face and with his feet, knocking him out. Now Toshi's pain made him unconscious. While all this was happening, there was a man with white hair observing from a distance, and he had a white smirk plastered on his face as he saw the fight. The plan worked. He didn't unlock it the way I expected him to, but he did unlock it. The shotting gun. Thought Madra as it disappeared in a blink of an eye. So yeah, this is pretty much where I'm gonna be ending this part. Again, I covered like three parts or three chapters of this I hate this fanfic named Grace, and one chapter is simply not enough. But I'll continue this as much as possible. Again, the next video is also going to be coming out in a couple of hours, so hopefully you guys are still for that. But anyways, yeah, I'll pretty much see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.